Everyone stood up when the alien Empress arrived except a human. The reason for this was surprising. The great hall of the alien capital shone like a jewel in the dark void of space. The walls shimmered with colors that no human eye had ever fully understood, changing from deep violet to bright green, reflecting the strange light of the twin suns outside. Hundreds of beings from distant worlds filled the hall, all wearing their most elegant robes, each of them bowing as the center of attention prepared to enter. At the far end of the hall, massive doors slowly opened, and a hush fell over the crowd. Every being, from the smallest emissary to the tallest warrior, stood as one. Their eyes were fixed on the figure that entered, a being of power, elegance, and authority. The alien Empress. Her presence alone seemed to bend the very air around her, and even the walls of the hall seemed to glow more brightly, as if acknowledging her arrival. She was taller than any human could imagine, with skin that shimmered like liquid metal and eyes that held the depth of 1,000 worlds. Her hair floated as if underwater, moving with the rhythm of some unseen energy. Every step she took made the floor vibrate slightly, a reminder that she was not merely a ruler, but a force of nature. Yet, in the sea of respect and awe, one human remained seated. His chair was ordinary, made of a simple material that looked almost fragile compared to the grandeur around him. His name was Alex Carter. He was young, with short brown hair and bright blue eyes that seemed to see the world differently from everyone else. His uniform was plain, designed more for function than style, and it made him stand out even more among the elaborate robes and shining armor of the other beings. Alex had been warned about this day. He had been told about the customs, the rituals, and the absolute rule of the Empress. He knew that standing was expected, that every being in the room would rise and show respect. But as the doors opened and the Empress walked in, he felt a strange calmness in his chest. He did not stand. The murmurs began almost immediately. Those to his left and right whispered, their voices blending into a low hum that spread across the hall. "Why does he not rise?" one being asked. Another shook their head, their antennas quivering in confusion. But no one dared to speak aloud in front of the Empress. The Empress paused near the center of the hall, her eyes scanning the crowd. They were sharp, intelligent, and frighteningly perceptive. She noticed Alex immediately. A flicker of curiosity passed over her features, though she did not show surprise. She had ruled for centuries and had seen countless beings defy expectation in small ways. But there was something about this human, something that made her stop. Alex did not flinch. He did not look away. He simply observed the Empress as if studying a living painting, careful to remain respectful yet unafraid. He knew that showing fear would mean weakness. He also knew that blindly bowing would be meaningless if it came without understanding. The Empress finally spoke, her voice smooth like flowing silk, but carrying a weight that made the air itself feel heavy. "Why do you remain seated, human?" she asked. The words echoed in the hall, reaching every corner. Alex took a deep breath and replied in clear, steady tones. "I respect you, Empress, but I do not bow without understanding the reason why." His words caused another wave of murmurs. The idea that a human would speak to an Empress in such a manner was unheard of. Many species had long ago learned that silence and obedience were the safest paths when facing her. The Empress regarded him silently for a moment, tilting her head. She studied his posture, the calm in his eyes, and the small but firm set of his jaw. Then she spoke again, this time softer, but it reached every listener. "You are different from others of your kind," she said. "Most would kneel or bow at the mere mention of my name. You, however, do not." "Why?" Alex met her gaze directly. "Because respect is earned, not demanded. I will show respect when I understand your choices, your actions, and the truth of your intentions." The hall fell into complete silence. The alien dignitaries exchanged nervous glances, unsure how the Empress would react. They had never witnessed such directness, and most were certain it would lead to Alex's punishment, perhaps even death. The Empress tilted her head, considering him. A smile, faint but unmistakable, curved her lips. "Few beings have ever spoken to me like that," she said. "Most either fawn or flee." You speak with honesty. That alone is rare. She raised a hand, and the doors behind her closed with a sound like a soft thunderclap. The light in the hall dimmed slightly as her attention focused entirely on Alex. Even as tension filled the room, Alex did not move. He felt the weight of hundreds of eyes on him, the pressure of the centuries of tradition pressing down, but he held firm. He understood that this moment was critical, not just for himself, but for how humans might be seen by the galaxy in the years to come. The Empress approached him, each step measured and deliberate. Her eyes seemed to pierce through his thoughts, reading the curiosity, the courage, and the reason behind his actions. When she finally stopped a few feet away, she bent slightly, not in submission, but in examination. "You are brave," she said, "or foolish. I cannot yet tell which." Alex inclined his head slightly, not in bowing but in acknowledgement. "Perhaps a little of both, Empress. But my intentions are honest. I seek understanding, not favor." The murmurs grew louder. Some beings looked scandalized, while others leaned forward in fascination. They had never seen a human speak with such composure in front of their Empress, and the fact that he remained seated only added to the tension. The Empress straightened, her voice now carrying authority that caused the entire hall to shiver. "You may sit, human, for now. Speak freely, and I will listen. But know this, honesty can be dangerous." Alex nodded. "I understand. But it is a risk I am willing to take." A silence followed, but it was different now. The hall was no longer filled with fear and ceremony alone. There was curiosity, a sense of anticipation. Something in the way the Empress regarded Alex suggested that this moment might change more than just their meeting. It might change the way humans were seen in the galaxy. The Empress gestured to a seat near the center of the hall, reserved for those who had earned her interest. Alex moved carefully, his eyes never leaving hers. As he sat, he felt the weight of the room shift. Beings who had previously been certain of their superiority now watched him with new eyes. "What do you wish to know, human?" the Empress asked, her voice softer now, yet still commanding. Alex took a moment to gather his thoughts. "I wish to know why the Empress chooses some species over others. I wish to understand your decisions that shape countless lives. And I wish to know why the galaxy fears you so much." The Empress's eyes gleamed with amusement. "You ask questions that many who kneel would never dare to ask. Very well, I will answer. But you must listen carefully, for the truths you hear may be heavier than your species can bear." Alex nodded. "I am ready to listen." The Empress began, her voice weaving stories of conquest, diplomacy, and survival. She spoke of ancient conflicts, of civilizations that rose and fell, and of the delicate balance of power that she maintained. Her words painted a galaxy of beauty and terror, where choices could create peace or destruction with equal ease. Alex listened intently, asking questions when needed, challenging politely when necessary. His mind absorbed the details of politics, strategy, and morality on a scale he had never imagined. The alien beings around him remained seated, some in shock, some in disbelief, as the human held his ground, asking the questions that others feared even thinking. Hours passed, though time felt different in the alien hall. The Empress spoke, and Alex listened, and slowly, the fear that had gripped the room began to fade. Curiosity replaced awe, and respect began to build. Not the forced respect of tradition, but the genuine respect that comes from courage, honesty, and the willingness to face truth. By the time the Empress finished, a new understanding had begun to form. Alex had not bowed, he had not flinched, and yet he had gained something far greater than a simple act of ceremony. He had begun to forge a connection, a fragile but powerful bridge between human courage and alien wisdom. The Empress studied him one last time. "You are unlike your species," she said. "They are strong, yes, but often too bound by fear or pride. You may hold potential I have not yet seen." Alex allowed himself a small smile. "Thank you, Empress. That is an honor I will not take lightly." As the great hall began to empty, and the other beings returned to their routines, the story of the human who had not bowed began to spread. Whispers carried through corridors, ships, and worlds. Everyone spoke of the human who had dared to sit while the Empress entered, and the way she had listened, almost as if he were equal to her. For Alex, the day had been exhausting but enlightening. He had faced the ultimate power in the galaxy and had not faltered. And though he did not yet know what the consequences would be, he understood one thing clearly. Being human in a galaxy of fear and awe was not a weakness. Sometimes, it was the greatest strength of all. The story of Alex Carter, the human who had not bowed to the alien Empress, traveled quickly across the galaxy. In distant planets, in crowded spaceports, and in grand palaces of alien rulers, beings whispered of him. Some called him foolish, some brave, and some wondered if he had unknowingly gained a kind of power greater than anyone realized. Back on the human starship horizon, Alex sat in the observation deck, staring at the stars. The mission had brought him here, to the heart of the alien empire, not as a soldier or diplomat, but as a human observer. Yet, he had already changed how those who ruled the galaxy saw humans. He did not feel proud, only cautious. He knew that courage was a double-edged sword. One wrong move could mean disaster. Lieutenant Sarah Miller, his close colleague, approached quietly. She was tall and serious, with dark hair tied in a practical knot, and eyes that never missed details. "Alex," she said softly, "you're making waves out there. Some say you've earned the Empress's interest. Others are worried she might see you as a threat." Alex turned to her and nodded. "I know. I have to be careful. But if we want humans to be respected, we cannot hide behind fear. We cannot pretend we are weak when we are not." Sarah frowned. "You are asking a lot, Alex. The Empress, she is unlike anything we've faced. Her rule spans centuries. Her mind is different. She can see weaknesses in seconds. You're lucky she listened at all." Alex looked back at the stars. "Maybe she listened because I spoke honestly. That is all anyone can do." Meanwhile, on the alien capital, the Empress held council with her closest advisors. They were beings of wisdom and power, each having lived centuries and experienced the rise and fall of civilizations. They spoke of Alex in hushed tones. "He is a human," one advisor said, his voice trembling slightly. "Most humans are simple, unpredictable, and weak. Yet he stood without fear. That is dangerous." Another advisor, a being with crystal-like skin that reflected light like a prism, nodded. "It is not simple bravery. There is a kind of clarity in him. He is not afraid because he understands something about us, about our rules. He sees us as we are, not as we want to be seen." The Empress listened quietly, her gaze far away as if she were seeing both the past and future at once. "He is an anomaly," she said softly. "Few beings can enter my court and speak with honesty. Most speak words of obedience, not truth. He is interesting. I must watch him closely." Days passed, and Alex continued his meetings with the Empress and her council. Each session was a careful dance of questions and answers. The Empress revealed parts of her empire, her decisions, and the reasons behind her conquests. She spoke of alliances, betrayals, and the fragile balance that kept the galaxy from collapsing into chaos. Alex listened, absorbing every word. He asked questions that were simple but meaningful. He asked why certain species were treated as subordinates, why some planets were allowed autonomy while others were directly controlled, and why fear seemed to be more respected than courage. The Empress answered each question honestly, but her answers were sometimes difficult to understand. "Power," she said once, "is not given. It is earned, maintained, and respected. Those who do not understand this fall quickly. Those who do sometimes survive longer than expected." Alex nodded. "Then, respect should not be demanded from fear. It should be earned from actions." A faint smile touched the Empress's lips. "You speak well, human. Most of your kind would not ask such questions. They would hide behind obedience or arrogance. You do not." One afternoon, the council introduced Alex to a group of alien historians and strategists. They were beings who recorded events across the galaxy, observing civilizations rise and fall, and interpreting patterns of behavior. They were curious about the human who had refused to bow. "You are unusual," one historian said, his voice calm but serious. "Your species is young compared to us, and Yet you face centuries of experience with eyes wide open. Why do you not fear us? Alex thought carefully before answering. Fear is only useful when it teaches caution. Beyond that, it is useless. I will not bow to fear. I will act according to reason, honesty, and understanding. Another strategist leaned forward, her many arms moving as if illustrating a point in the air. You speak as if humans are different from themselves. Are you truly like this, or is this exceptional? I am human, Alex said. I make mistakes. I get scared. But I also choose to be honest, and I choose to stand when it matters. That is what matters, not what I might feel inside. The aliens studied him silently, some nodding, some frowning, and some unsure what to think. Alex realized that he had become more than just a guest. He had become an example, a puzzle, and perhaps a threat. As the days turned into weeks, Alex began to understand more about the alien empire and the Empress herself. He saw that her rule was not based solely on fear. She valued honesty, cleverness, and courage. But she was also wary, always calculating, always thinking several moves ahead. One evening, as the twin suns set behind the alien capital, casting long shadows across the palace, Alex walked in the gardens with the Empress. She had invited him to walk outside the great hall, and the plants around them glowed softly with light that seemed alive. You are different from other humans, she said quietly. Most of your kind would not survive even one day here. You would be broken by protocol, by tradition, by fear. Yet you have endured weeks. What? Alex stopped and looked at her. Because I am willing to learn. I do not think I know everything. I listen. I watch. I act only when I understand. The Empress studied him for a long moment. And yet, you do not bow. You do not kneel. You do not show the signs of respect that all others do. What? Alex took a deep breath. Because respect without understanding is meaningless. I want to respect you, Empress, but I cannot do it blindly. I want my actions to matter, not just my obedience. The Empress walked slowly, her long shadow stretching across the glowing plants. Most beings would call you foolish, human. Some might call you brave. Perhaps you are both. Alex smiled slightly. Perhaps. But I know one thing. I want humans to be seen as they are. Not as weak, not as simple. If I can show that, maybe it will change something. She looked at him with something that resembled admiration. You may change more than you realize. Perhaps your species is not as young or as simple as I believed. Perhaps humans have a strength I did not anticipate. Over the following days, word of Alex's courage spread beyond the palace. Alien leaders and representatives began to question their assumptions about humans. Some became cautious, realizing that humans were not easily intimidated. Others grew curious, wondering what this species might accomplish when fully understood. Alex, however, focused on learning. He studied the empire's technology, its politics, its ways of thinking. He asked questions that revealed human ingenuity and moral clarity. Each answer, each observation, slowly built a bridge between humans and the alien empire, a bridge not based on fear or subservience, but on understanding and respect. But not everyone welcomed this change. In hidden corners of the empire, whispers of rebellion began to rise. Some believed that the human should be eliminated before he caused too much disruption. They feared that if the Empress saw humans as more than simple beings, the balance of power could shift in unexpected ways. Alex remained unaware of these hidden threats. His mind was focused on the lessons he was learning and the people he was meeting. He did not know that his courage, his honesty, and his refusal to bow were slowly reshaping the galaxy's perception of humans. One day, the Empress summoned him to the Central Council chamber. This room was larger than anything Alex had seen before, with ceilings that seemed to touch the stars and walls that shimmered with alien patterns. She motioned for him to sit. You have done well, human, she said. You have learned much, and yet there is more to understand. The galaxy is not simple. There are forces at work that even I cannot control. You must be careful, for your actions may inspire allies and enemies alike. Alex nodded. I understand, but I cannot ignore what I see. If humans are to survive in the galaxy, we must act with honesty, courage, and clarity. Fear alone will not save us. The Empress leaned back, her expression unreadable. You may be right. Perhaps humans have a strength I have not yet accounted for. Perhaps you, human, are the beginning of a new understanding between our species. Alex allowed himself a small moment of hope. For the first time, he felt that his presence, his choices, and his courage might have a real impact. Not just for himself, but for all humans. And yet, danger lurked in the shadows. Forces within the empire that opposed change, that clung to fear and tradition, watched him closely. They were patient and cunning, waiting for the right moment to act. Alex did not know this. He only knew that he must continue to learn, to ask questions, and to act with honesty. For in a galaxy of power, fear, and ancient tradition, honesty and courage were the rarest weapons of all, and perhaps the most dangerous. The days in the alien capital grew tense. Alex Carter had become more than a visitor. He was now a symbol. The human who refused to bow to the Empress had captured the curiosity of some and the suspicion of others. Every move he made, every question he asked, seemed to ripple across the empire like a small but powerful wave. In the council chamber, the Empress sat with her advisors, discussing matters of strategy and diplomacy. The galaxy was not peaceful. Some sectors rebelled, others competed for resources, and many feared the Empress's power. Yet Alex's presence had added an unexpected element to the balance. "He is changing things," one advisor whispered. His voice trembled slightly. "We cannot predict what humans will do next. His actions might inspire others to question our rule." The Empress tilted her head. "Or he may teach us something we have long forgotten. We have grown strong, yes, but strength without understanding can be fragile. Perhaps he is a reminder." Meanwhile, Alex spent his days learning about the Empire. He observed the way the alien military operated, how their fleets moved through space, and how they communicated with distant planets. He asked questions about justice, diplomacy, and the use of force. Each answer added pieces to a puzzle he was only beginning to understand. One afternoon, as he walked through a corridor lined with glowing panels, a voice called him. "Alex Carter." He turned to see Leah Carson, a human liaison assigned to him. Leah was practical, with quick reflexes and a mind trained to handle emergencies. She looked concerned. "There are rumors," Leah said quietly. "Not everyone in the Empire is happy with your presence. Some factions see you as a threat. They may act against you. Even the Empress's permission might not protect you fully." Alex nodded. "I know, but I cannot change who I am. I cannot sit quietly and pretend to be afraid when there is an opportunity to learn and show humans differently." Leah studied him. "You are brave, Alex. Or maybe stubborn. But be careful. Their patience can be short, and their ways of dealing with trouble are different." That night, Alex sat in the observation deck, staring at the galaxy. He thought of the humans back on Earth, and the people he had left behind. He wondered what they would think if they knew a human was walking openly in the halls of the most powerful alien empire, asking questions no one else dared. He knew the risks, but he also knew that humans could not survive in the galaxy by hiding. Courage, honesty, and clarity were necessary. The next day, Alex attended a formal assembly where representatives from dozens of species had gathered. The room was enormous, filled with beings from distant worlds, all watching the human with interest and suspicion. The Empress sat at the head of the assembly, her presence commanding silence. "Humans are strange," one alien muttered to another. "They are fragile, yet this one walks among us without fear. Why does he not bow? Why does he not kneel?" Another replied, "Perhaps he is stronger than he appears. Perhaps we have underestimated them." The Empress gestured to Alex. "You may speak," she said. Alex stood, his posture calm. "I am honored to be here," he said. "I do not come to demand change or challenge your traditions. I only seek to understand, to learn, and to build trust between humans and your species. Fear alone will not create respect. Honesty, courage, and understanding will." A hush fell over the assembly. The words were simple, yet their meaning resonated. Some beings looked thoughtful, while others scowled, unsure how to respond. The Empress smiled faintly. "You speak plainly, human, and yet your words carry weight. They remind us that even in a galaxy of power and fear, truth has value. That is something many have forgotten." After the assembly, Alex was led to a private chamber for discussions with the Empress. As they walked, she spoke quietly. Your presence is causing ripples, Alex. Some of my advisors think it is dangerous. Others see opportunity. You are like a stone dropped into water. The waves spread far and wide. Alex listened carefully. I do not seek to disrupt. I only wish humans to be understood. We are not weak, and we are not simple. I want to show that. The Empress stopped and looked at him. Your courage is unusual. Most beings would have faltered long ago. You have learned our ways quickly, yet you remain yourself. That is rare and intriguing. Alex nodded. I have no other choice. If humans are to survive in this galaxy, we cannot hide. We must face the truth, learn, and act wisely. In the weeks that followed, Alex's presence continued to influence the Empire. Alien scholars began studying humans more closely. Diplomats approached with curiosity, and some military leaders began to rethink strategies. Yet, shadows moved unseen. Factions within the Empire who clung to fear and tradition whispered in secret. They did not like the idea of a human showing courage, of the Empress valuing honesty over obedience. One evening, Alex and Liao were walking near the palace's outer terraces when they noticed a group of cloaked figures observing from a distance. They moved silently, with purpose, but did not reveal themselves. Leah's hand rested on her side, near a small weapon she always carried. They are watching us, she said quietly. Alex studied them calmly. They might be curious, or they might be planning something. Either way, we must remain careful. Fear will not protect us. Awareness will. The cloaked figures disappeared as quickly as they appeared, leaving Alex and Leah to continue their walk. Yet the sense of danger lingered. Alex knew that in a galaxy ruled by centuries of power, those who feared change were patient, cunning, and dangerous. The following day, the Empress summoned Alex to her personal study. The room was filled with artifacts, scrolls, and devices that recorded the history of the Empire. The air was thick with knowledge, and every object seemed to hum with energy. You are growing in influence, human, the Empress said. You have learned quickly, asked difficult questions, and your presence has caused both admiration and fear. Do you understand the responsibility that comes with this? Alex nodded. I understand. I will not act recklessly, and I will continue to learn. But I cannot ignore what I see. If humans are to survive, we must show our strength and honesty. That is all I ask to do. The Empress studied him for a long moment. You are unlike any human I have met. Most are cautious, hiding behind rules or obedience. You face the unknown openly. It is rare. Perhaps your kind has more potential than I believed. Alex felt a small spark of hope. I believe they do. Humans are not perfect, but we can endure, adapt, and grow stronger. I want to show the galaxy that. The Empress leaned back, her gaze distant. There are forces in my empire that may not see it that way. Some will act to preserve the old ways, to maintain fear and control. They may try to stop you, even if I do not permit it. Alex met her eyes. I will face them if necessary. I will not stand aside while fear controls decisions that affect countless lives. Humans may be young in this galaxy, but we are not weak. The Empress's eyes glimmered with something that was almost approval. Perhaps that is why you have survived this long. Perhaps that is why you remain seated when others stand. Courage, honesty, and clarity. These are rare traits, human, and they can be more dangerous than any weapon. Over the next weeks, Alex continued his work, observing, learning, and asking questions. The cloaked figures remained a threat in the shadows, plotting silently, but Alex's presence was becoming a symbol of human potential. Aliens began to see that humans were not simple, not fragile, and not easily intimidated. One day, the Empress called him to the council chamber. A meeting had been arranged with leaders from distant sectors, and Alex's role was now more than an observer. He was to participate, speak, and demonstrate the strength of humans. As he entered the chamber, the whispers began again. The human who refused to bow, some said. Will he change the minds of many? Or will he bring trouble? Alex stood confidently, meeting the eyes of leaders from various species. I come not to challenge, not to claim power, but to show that humans are capable of understanding, courage, and honesty. We do not seek to dominate, but we will not be dismissed as weak or simple. If we can build trust, respect, and cooperation, the galaxy can be stronger for all of us. The Empress watched him carefully. Her advisors whispered among themselves, divided in their opinions. Yet even they could not deny the impact of Alex's words. Something was changing. As the meeting continued, Alex realized that the challenges ahead were greater than he had imagined. Hidden threats, factions loyal to fear, and the sheer complexity of the galaxy would test him in ways he could not yet predict. But one thing was clear: humans were no longer invisible. They were being seen, respected, and feared for what they might achieve. And Alex, the human who had refused to bow, understood that his choices, his courage, and his honesty were the beginning of something far larger than himself. Something that could change the fate of humans in the galaxy forever. The galaxy was quiet, but not peaceful. Tensions simmered beneath the surface, and the presence of Alex Carter, the human who had refused to bow, was stirring forces that had long been dormant. On the alien capital, whispers of unease spread faster than light. Some factions feared the human. Others were fascinated by him. The Empress herself watched him closely, balancing her curiosity with caution. One morning, Alex was summoned to the Empress's private council room. The air inside was dense with anticipation. He could feel it immediately. The advisors were present, their expressions serious, some even cautious. They had reports to share, but they waited for the Empress to speak first. "You have changed many minds, human," the Empress said, her voice steady. "Some leaders now question old traditions. Others fear that your presence may undermine their authority. Do you understand the power you wield simply by being yourself?" Alex nodded. "I understand. But I do not seek power for myself. I want humans to be seen for what we are: capable, brave, and willing to act honestly. That is all." The Empress's eyes glimmered with faint amusement. "Few beings act like that. Most crave recognition or control. You do not. That is what makes you different. That is why I allow you to continue." One advisor spoke carefully. "Empress, there are factions in the Empire who do not see his presence as harmless. Some may take action against him. We have reports of meetings, covert planning, and even the movement of armed forces near human territories." Alex's blue eyes narrowed. "They want to act against me? Why? I have not insulted them. I have not harmed anyone. I only seek understanding." "Fear is a strange thing," the Empress said softly. "They fear change. They fear what humans represent. And they fear what you may inspire in others." Alex leaned forward. "Then, we must be prepared. If they act, we cannot respond blindly. We must be smart, cautious, and decisive." The Empress nodded. "Very well. You will not face them alone. You have my protection, as long as you remain true to your values and careful in your actions. But know this, human, those who oppose change are patient and ruthless." After the meeting, Alex returned to the human quarters. Leah Carson was waiting for him, her brow furrowed. "Did they mention it?" she asked. Alex explained what had been discussed. Leah listened carefully, then said, "We need a plan. If factions are moving, we can't just hope the Empress's protection is enough. We need intelligence, strategy, and a way to respond if they act." Alex nodded. "Agreed. We need to show strength without aggression. We cannot provoke them, but we cannot allow fear to dictate our actions. Humans cannot survive if we are passive." Over the next few days, Alex and Leah worked quietly to gather information. They studied movements of fleets, intercepted communications, and observed patterns of the Empire's internal politics. The more they learned, the clearer it became. A confrontation was inevitable. The factions opposed to change were growing bolder. Meanwhile, the Empress continued to include Alex in discussions of high-level strategy. She tested him with hypothetical scenarios, complex problems, and moral dilemmas. Each time, Alex answered honestly and logically, earning cautious respect from some and suspicion from others. One day, during a routine briefing, a messenger arrived. He was an alien with silver skin and eyes that reflected the colors of the room. His voice trembled slightly. "Empress, reports indicate that a fleet is moving toward the human sector. They have not been authorized to act. Their intentions are unclear, but it appears hostile." The Empress's gaze sharpened. Show me. The projections revealed dozens of ships, moving in a pattern that suggested careful planning. Alex studied the map. They are not attacking blindly, he said. They know what they are doing. They are trying to intimidate humans and send a message. But they may not be prepared for a direct confrontation with the Empire itself. The Empress considered him. And what do you suggest, human? Alex thought quickly. We should not attack first. But we must prepare our defenses. Show them that humans are not weak, that we can respond intelligently, and that we have the Empress's backing. We should also try communication. Give them a chance to reconsider without bloodshed. The Empress smiled faintly. Very well. Your plan has merit. Prepare your fleet. I will authorize limited support. But know this, human. If they act recklessly, the consequences will be swift. Alex immediately set to work. He coordinated with human commanders and selected alien allies who trusted him. Ships were positioned strategically, communication channels were monitored, and contingency plans were made. Every decision was measured and precise, designed to protect humans while minimizing unnecessary conflict. As night fell on the alien capital, Alex walked the terraces with Leah. The twin suns had set, and the stars of the galaxy glimmered like distant lanterns. Do you think they will attack? Leah asked quietly. Alex shook his head. I don't know, but we must assume they might. That way we are ready. Fear is useless. Preparation is everything. Hours later, the human fleet received the first signal. A message from the opposing faction, demanding that humans surrender or face consequences. The tone was aggressive, but not overtly violent. Alex read the message carefully. He understood the intent. They wanted to test the humans, see if they would flinch. He called a meeting with his officers and Leah. They are trying to intimidate us, he said. We will not respond with anger. We will respond with clarity. Show them our strength, our intelligence, and our willingness to defend ourselves if necessary. But also leave the door open for reason. They must understand that humans are not to be dismissed. The officers nodded, though some looked uneasy. This was not a typical military response, and it required both courage and discipline. Alex sent a carefully crafted reply, addressing the faction respectfully but firmly. He made it clear that humans would defend themselves and that any aggression would be met with calculated resistance. At the same time, he invited dialogue, offering an opportunity to de-escalate the situation. The hours that followed were tense. Every human ship and many alien allies were on high alert. Every transmission was monitored. The galaxy seemed to hold its breath. Then, a response arrived. The faction had paused. They had not expected such a measured reply. They had intended to provoke fear, but instead they found intelligence, courage, and clarity. Slowly, the tone of their messages began to change. Questions replaced threats. Curiosity replaced aggression. Alex realized that his approach was working. Humans were no longer seen as weak or easily intimidated. They were being acknowledged as a species capable of strategy, reason, and courage. The Empress summoned Alex once more. You have done well, human, she said. Your actions have prevented unnecessary conflict and have shown your species in a new light. You are changing perceptions, not through force, but through honesty and courage. That is rare. Alex bowed his head slightly in acknowledgement. I did what I had to do. Humans cannot survive if we are ignored, feared, or underestimated. We must be seen as we are. The Empress's eyes softened. You may be the beginning of a new chapter for humans. Few species earn respect so quickly, and even fewer do so without showing fear. Your presence is remarkable. But even as praise was given, danger remained. Hidden factions still plotted in secret, unwilling to accept change or the idea that a human could challenge assumptions. They moved quietly, gathering allies, preparing for the moment they believed would restore balance to their empire. Alex and Leah continued to work, studying intelligence reports, monitoring fleets, and maintaining communication. Every step was calculated, every move deliberate. The human who had refused to bow was now at the center of a complex web of power, trust, and hidden threats. As days passed, it became clear that the galaxy was changing. Aliens who once doubted humans now considered them seriously. Human influence, though small, was growing. And Alex knew that the real test was yet to come, whether humans could survive not just through courage, but through wisdom, preparation, and unity. Late one night, Alex stood on the terrace, looking at the stars. The twin suns had long disappeared behind the horizon, leaving the galaxy bathed in the cold light of distant worlds. He thought of Earth, of the people he had left behind, and of the responsibilities now placed upon him. Courage had brought him this far, but courage alone would not be enough. He needed wisdom, strategy, and the trust of both humans and aliens. And he understood, more clearly than ever, that the galaxy would test him, the humans, and everything they represented. The alien capital was silent, yet the tension was palpable. Shadows moved in hidden corridors, fleets waited in distant space, and the choices of one human could shape the fate of countless worlds. Alex took a deep breath. He had faced the Empress, survived scrutiny, and earned respect. He had prevented conflict through intelligence and courage. But the galaxy was vast, and dangers were many. The true challenge was just beginning. And Alex Carter, the human who had refused to bow, understood that the moment for action, for strategy, and for courage was coming faster than anyone realized. The galaxy was on edge. Hidden factions had grown restless, convinced that humans were a threat to the established order. The human fleet, guided by Alex Carter, was positioned strategically near the edge of the alien capital system. Every ship was alert, engines humming with quiet power, every crew member aware that even a single mistake could lead to disaster. Alex walked through the command deck of the flagship, checking displays, communicating with squad leaders, and reviewing intelligence reports. Leah Carson was at his side, calm but focused, issuing instructions with practiced precision. "All fleets report readiness," she said. "Sensors indicate movement from the hostile faction. They have not launched an attack yet, but they are preparing." Alex nodded. "We will not strike first. We will give them the chance to act wisely. But if they cross the line, they will face the consequences." His voice was calm, but the weight of responsibility was heavy. This was not just about strategy. It was about survival, respect, and the reputation of humans across the galaxy. In the alien capital, the Empress observed the developments closely. She stood silently, watching projections of fleets moving in distant space. "Alex Carter is extraordinary," she said softly. "He acts with clarity, courage, and intelligence. Few beings can hold such balance. Humans may be stronger than I believed." Her advisors whispered among themselves, divided between admiration and fear. Some saw the humans as potential allies, others as dangerous disruptors. Yet all agreed on one point. Alex Carter had changed the game. Suddenly, alerts sounded across the human command deck. The hostile fleet had made a move. Small attack vessels emerged from hidden points, attempting to blockade key human positions. Their intention was clear: to intimidate and divide. Alex remained calm. "Do not fire unless necessary," he instructed. "Let them show their intentions. Observe, respond intelligently, and be ready to act if they cross the line." Leah frowned. "They are aggressive. They will not hesitate if they think weakness is shown." Alex studied the sensors. "That is why we will show strength without provocation. Timing and clarity are more powerful than rash action." The hostile fleet approached human positions, but Alex's careful planning revealed a flaw in their formation. He seized the opportunity, sending precise signals to human and allied ships to reposition. Within minutes, the attacking vessels were surrounded, not by sheer force, but by strategy. A communication channel opened, and the leader of the hostile faction appeared on the display. His voice was sharp. "Human, you dare defy us? Step aside, or face destruction." Alex responded calmly. "We do not seek conflict. We are prepared to defend ourselves and our allies, but we are also willing to negotiate. Your approach is aggressive, and it could lead to unnecessary loss. Consider carefully before acting." The hostile leader hesitated. Alex's words were not threats, yet they carried weight. There was no fear, only clarity. He had observed, calculated, and prepared for this exact moment. That confidence unsettled the opposing faction. In the capital, the Empress watched with interest. He does not act out of fear or arrogance. He acts with reason and courage. Few species could maintain this balance under pressure. The hostile leader finally spoke again. Very well, human. We will hold for now. But know this, the next step will not be so patient. Alex replied simply, we understand. But aggression will not bring respect. Only clarity, courage, and understanding will. Over the following days, tensions slowly eased. The hostile fleet withdrew, not because of fear, but because they recognized that humans were not to be underestimated. Messages of cautious respect were sent, signaling that humans were now considered capable, intelligent, and brave. Back on the alien capital, the Empress convened a council meeting. Alex was invited to observe. The mood was different now. Aliens who had doubted humans began speaking of cooperation, curiosity, and mutual benefit. Even some of the previously hostile factions acknowledged the change in perception. You have done more than survive, human, the Empress said. You have changed minds, inspired caution, and earned respect without raising a weapon. Few beings could accomplish what you have. Alex bowed slightly. I did not act alone. I only tried to represent humans as they are, capable, honest, and willing to face challenges without fear. The Empress studied him, her expression thoughtful. Your courage is remarkable. Your clarity is rare. Your honesty is unusual. But these are the traits that matter most when trust must be earned. Alex smiled faintly. I hope that humans can continue to build trust. We are still learning, still growing. But we will not be dismissed as weak or simple. The Empress nodded. Perhaps humans are a species that the galaxy has underestimated. Perhaps that is why you have endured and succeeded. And perhaps you will shape the future in ways few of us can predict. In the days that followed, Alex continued to work with the Empress, her advisors, and other species. He shared knowledge of human technology, diplomacy, and ethics. He listened carefully, learning from alien wisdom while offering perspectives that were simple, honest, and effective. Allies emerged from unlikely places. Species that had once ignored humans now sought dialogue. Some who had doubted humans began to recognize their potential. And, though danger remained in hidden corners, the galaxy slowly adjusted to the presence of a human who had refused to bow. One afternoon, Alex stood in the gardens of the capital, looking at glowing plants and distant stars. Lia joined him. You've done something remarkable, she said softly. Humans are no longer invisible, no longer dismissed. You've changed the way the galaxy sees us. Alex shook his head. I did not do it alone. Humans are capable of more than most realize. We just needed a chance to show it. I only helped that chance happen. Lia smiled. Still, you faced the Empress, hostile factions, and centuries of tradition. You stood without fear. That is not small. Alex looked at the horizon. Perhaps not. But the real work is just beginning. We have earned respect, but we must continue to prove ourselves. Courage, honesty, and clarity are only the first steps. The galaxy is vast, and challenges will continue. Meanwhile, the Empress watched from her high tower. She had observed Alex for weeks, noting his decisions, his reasoning, and his courage. She saw something in humans that few species possessed, the ability to act with clarity in chaos, to face danger without panic, and to earn respect through honesty rather than fear. Perhaps humans are not as young as I believed, she said softly to her advisors. Perhaps they are a species that can rise to meet the challenges of the galaxy. And perhaps this human, Alex Carter, is the beginning of a new understanding between our species. Across the galaxy, messages began to circulate. Aliens told stories of the human who had not bowed, who had faced the Empress with honesty and courage, and who had prevented conflict through intelligence and strategy. Humans, once considered minor players in galactic affairs, were now recognized as beings of potential, ingenuity, and bravery. Alex returned to the human fleet. The crews cheered as he walked the decks, not because he was a commander, but because he had shown what humans could do when they acted with honesty and courage. He smiled humbly, knowing that the credit belonged to all humans, and to the choices they would continue to make. One final message arrived from the previously hostile faction. It was short, respectful, and cautious. Humans are not weak. We acknowledge your strength, clarity, and and courage. We hope for cooperation, not conflict. Alex read the message and allowed himself a small smile. It was not victory in the traditional sense. There had been no massive battle, no destruction, no overwhelming display of power. But it was a victory in another sense, the victory of honesty, courage, and human dignity. In the alien capital, the Empress observed quietly. Alex approached her, and, for the first time, they shared a moment of mutual respect without ceremony or pretense. "You have shown what humans are capable of," she said. Alex nodded. "We are still learning. But we can face the galaxy with honesty, courage, and clarity. That is all any species can do." The Empress's eyes softened. "Then, perhaps the galaxy will be stronger because of it. Perhaps humans will no longer be underestimated. And perhaps respect can be earned without fear." As the twin suns set behind the capital, casting long shadows across the glowing gardens, Alex Carter looked at the stars. The galaxy was vast, filled with challenges, mysteries, and dangers. But humans had earned a place among the stars. Not by bowing, not by fear, but by courage, clarity, and honesty. And in that moment, Alex understood something profoundly simple. Respect cannot be demanded. Power cannot replace courage. And even a single human, standing firm and true, could change the way the galaxy sees an entire species. The story of the human who refused to bow had reached its conclusion, for now. The galaxy had begun to recognize humans not as weak, not as simple, but as beings capable of greatness. And Alex Carter, the human who had faced the Empress, the factions, and centuries of tradition, had become the symbol of that potential. The stars stretched endlessly before him, a reminder of all that was possible. And Alex knew that humanity's journey had only just begun.